Cash call back again for another week. Brian Curtis, Dale Archdekin, with amazing, never before heard nuggets of sales scripting gold. Right, Brian?
I'm gonna have to talk to you in the green room because you keep setting us up to have a really, really high standard. Not that I feel like we make it most of the time, but I think maybe sometimes you're setting us up to, under promise, over deliver. Isn't that something somebody said once?
All
So,
right, let's
but no.
redo that opening. Hey, everybody, it's Dale Archdekin and Brian Curtis back with some marginal training tips for you that you've probably heard everywhere else 500 times, but still aren't doing. Is that better?
That was fabulous, Dale. So, Dale and I thought in the green room we would talk about tone and how that affects what we're saying.
Yeah. So we missed everybody last week. I was at a real estate conference that shall not be named, learning lots of amazing things and making great contacts. And Brian was sunning himself on a beach somewhere, I guess.
That's not true, but okay, we'll go with that. So.
Well, you look a shade darker maybe today. Is that
It's just that Colorado sun. You go out in the Colorado sun, and it melts you. So
nice? That's excellent. So I've got a call here, and it's we try. I feel like we try to usually not play ones that are too long because I know it can get, it doesn't move the thing along. But I want the crowd to hear this. And, you know, a lot of times, especially when as a salesperson, you can kind of do an okay job and things work out all right for you. Or even as a sales manager, you're listening to it and you're like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? But somehow they're getting okay results or they got an okay result. But I think that that's just a lot of times comes from laziness. You know what I mean? And so I want to play this for everybody so that we can hear it and talk about how we can improve this. Let me see
before
if
you hit go, just go ahead and make sure the chat's enabled.
There we go. Panelists, everyone, and everyone. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. For some reason, Zoom has not fixed their nonsense. All right, everybody, chat in if you can hear us. Chat in if you can chat. We'll do that. How about that? We haven't seen a chat yet. Okay. Well, yeah, there
There
we
we
go.
go.
Terry's there.
Awesome.
Megan Stanton's good. All right, good. I can hear you all. Excellent. All right. So let me play this call real quick. I'll speed it up or slow it down, but I want you guys to hear what we hear. Share sound.
Well, I'm currently just looking right now. Not really looking into buying at anytime soon, but I am interested in different programs that they have.
You're interested in
Let me
finding out
let me slow that down a little bit. The guy, the lead's hard to understand. It's muffled and he has a bit of an accent.
Well, I'm currently just looking right now. Not really looking into buying at anytime soon, but I am interested in different programs that they have.
So he said, I'm just looking right now. I'm not interested in buying anytime soon. I'm just looking into different programs you may have. Programs a lot of times tends to be a trigger word for I don't have money. Um,
Me
Brian, I
too.
don't know if that, yeah, that,
No, I think the same thing. Like, there's this. I kept hearing this especially when I was first selling real estate. Is there any first-time home buyer programs? What I found out really, really quickly, there really isn't, unless you have a very specific state first-time home buyer program. But for the most part, there really wasn't a lot of special programs out there. So I would follow that question up with, oh, perfect. What kind of special program are you looking for? Like, I want to know what these guys are talking about. Like, are they expecting me to pay their down payment for them, make their monthly? I mean, I've heard of crazy deals like that. I haven't seen them, but I've heard of crazy stuff like that. So
yeah, I would say that, I'm no statistician, but I would say probably 80% of the times that people ask about a program, it means that they have no money or bad credit and they know it. 20% of the time they don't know that they can afford to purchase, or they're nervous about it, or they think that it's going to be more expensive than it really is.
yep,
So I'd say that, that 80-20 rule I feel like kind of applies. What do you think, Brian?
I agree. And here's one of the things that I feel like a lot of agents don't do enough discovery. So, like, I've literally had somebody tell me, "Well, I'm waiting to save 20% down."
Right.
And they're like, "Well, of course you have to have 20% down, right?" I'm like, "Well, if I could get you a house today without 20% down, would you be interested?" "Oh, yeah." So, we make this assumption that people actually understand how buying a house works, and a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. So, I think it's important to do good discovery and education.
Yep.
You're interested in finding out about the different loan programs. Is that what you're saying? Like, you're a first-time home buyer?
Yes.
Okay, nice, nice. Um, Real quick, Angel. So you said you're just currently looking, right? I'm making sure that I notate it correctly. Is there a specific time frame in mind that you're anticipating when you're going to make that move, or like, what are you
Probably the
thinking?
next.
So I don't think he's doing too bad here. You know, I know the guy
Covered.
said he wasn't going to be buying anytime soon. He asked for a time frame. I feel like this agent he's an agent. He just needs more practice so that he can sound more confident. He sounds a little bit nervous asking his questions. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, and it's funny. We do role play on Wednesdays, and I was talking about that with my team this morning. When you say things extremely confident, and somebody says, "Well, I don't want to come across as arrogant." So here's the difference between arrogant and confidence. Arrogance is, to me, saying a whole bunch of stuff you don't know without knowing what the heck you're talking about. That's arrogant. I'm just going to say stuff. I'm really important. If you know what you're talking about, that's just confidence. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. So be confident. Hey, Bob, Angel's name. Hey, Angel. So I understand that you're not looking right now. Out of curiosity, what is your time frame? That's all.
And you can also fix a lot of stuff with tone. What
Amen.
I'm saying here, yeah, what we're hearing here is this guy's kind of dancing around with his words and his little cut off sounds and kind of a little apologetic when he doesn't need to be. And so I could say, so Brian, do you have a particular time frame you're thinking? I'm just using the tone of my voice to soften up the words that I'm using, but I don't have extra sounds or words in there that sound like I don't know what I'm saying or asking. And you can also use speed. You can slow down a little bit. So,
Yep.
Brian, do you have a particular time frame you're thinking of? All I did is I slowed it down to where it sounded like I was thinking about what I was going to ask you.
Right. And so for those of you who are going, well, when do I slow down? When do I speed up? What's the appropriate thing here? As you slow down, it creates an empathetic tone just by the nature of it. So, out of curiosity, Bob, da 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 da, da. And it just creates a different feeling of empathy. So I would say this, and this is kind of an aside, when you're handling objections, don't go quickly. Too many
Yeah.
people go too quickly when they handle objections, and what that means to them is like, oh, this person's not listening to me, they're not empathetic, they don't understand me, they're just trying to run me over.
Right.
So slowing down is always a powerful thing to do. Now, again, you want to pay attention to the other person. You don't want to talk half of their speed because then you'll blow rapport out the door. But
Right.
yeah, slowing down sometimes is great.
Yeah.
Probably the next 2 years or so, or depending if the market is good.
He said probably the next 2 years or so, or depending on what the market does. That was the lead's answer to the time frame question.
Okay.
The next couple of years, okay, or depending on like market. So just let me ask you this, since I have you on the line. What is your ideal market situation for you? Like, what?
So that was a really good question. He doesn't need to apologize for it with a let me ask you this while I have you on the phone. He didn't need to do that. Oh, got it. So in a couple of years or depending on the market. So what would a good market situation look like to you? That was a great question. He just doesn't need the buffer stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I think that, full disclosure, this is an agent that's in our training with one of our trainers. And so that's the reason he has a great question there. It takes practice to be able to deliver this stuff because I recognize our training and what he's doing. But it's just because he has the knowledge doesn't mean that he has the muscle memory, so to speak, to execute it. And so that's why you're hearing the rough kind of the buffering of trying to remember the training and get it in there. That's why practice is so important.
Well, and here's to Dale's point. I'm going to just piggyback on that. Like when I was in a class that was taught by one of the major brokerages where they would have people, we put 150, 200 people in a class at a time, and they would all call the same people, right? And if you were the third, fourth, fifth person to talk to that person, you usually got screamed at.
You get
And
blasted.
you got to learn some next type muscles, like next,
Right.
because you were going to get yelled at. And I don't love that part. That's not the important part of the story. But here's the important part of this story. I can give you the perfect words to say, but if you deliver them incorrectly, you might as well say the wrong thing. One of my mentors said to me when I first got in sales, and this wasn't real estate sales, but he said, Brian, you can say anything you want with a smile. Now we're talking about in person. And again, you can say almost anything you want if you say it with the right tone, with the right speed, and that is almost as important as the scripts. So those two things go together, they marry, and that makes the perfect conversation. So here's the thing that somebody said to me today, and I think it's brilliant. I want to record these scripts and listen to them. I love that. I was so
Yeah.
excited when I heard somebody say that. And so all of you who are watching, record yourself. And by the way, I'll save you this surprise. If it's going to be a surprise to you, you're not going to like your voice. Get over that part and then listen to your tone, your speed, your volume, or empathy, and listen to some of the phone calls you make, because you're going to say really dumb things, and that's okay, but you're not even going to be aware of it.
Yeah. Man, I couldn't stand the sound of my voice for a really good years, but now at this point, like I'm over it, so it does happen. I'm not just a narcissist. I have listened to my sound of my voice enough that I've gotten over it.
Listen to the
Uh,
sound of my voice.
Listen to the sound of my voice. All right, let's see where this guy goes.
What do you envision working out for you that will allow you to make that move so I could better understand?
Well, area-wise, I don't mind unless I get a home.
Uh,
But maybe that payment-wise, that mortgage payment, will be, I think the highest like we would be able to pay would be 1,800.
uh-huh.
So I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. So he said he wants his mortgage payment to be 1,800. The agent figures out, okay, great. What are you paying right now in rent? He's paying 1,600 for a 4-bedroom, but he's in San Diego. So
Cool.
the likelihood of finding a 4-bedroom in San Diego for $1,800 a month, not going to happen, right? So what I want to fast forward to is the way that the agent, once he finds that out, I feel like he kind of flubs the ball a little bit in how he sets up the next conversation with the person.
You mostly the mortgage payments.
Surrounding bills.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Are you renting right now currently?
Yeah.
What's just out of curiosity, like what's your rent like? How's that looking?
It's 1,600 for a 4-bedroom apartment.
1,600. And you said how many bedroom?
It's 4.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Now you can tell this is where the agent's disengaged. He's like, oh shit, this is dead in the water.
Yeah.
And I guess it sounded like you want to stay, if possible, stay within kind of in that range or a little bit higher
Yes.
for your mortgage, ideally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't
Oh
worry.
shit,
Don't
is
worry.
what I just heard.
Hey, Angel.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, now, so I don't know if he was at, like, he was on the way to something, this was a bad time when the call came in or whatever it is. So the agent's going to exit on this, but I want everybody to listen to the way that he exits, and then Brian and I are going to help improve it.
Well, if you don't mind, would it be good to call you back a little bit later this afternoon, so that way I could get more details from you and just kind of see what I could do to help you game plan and strategize? Does that sound like something of value to you?
Game plan and strategize, super vague, doesn't sound super helpful. Why are we ending the conversation now, and why do we need to talk later? So those are all the things that came up for me when I listened to that exit. What about you, Brian?
The same boat. I mean, it feels like I really don't want to talk to you. I just did some quick math as I was doing this. So 1,800 just PI, principal and interest, at 6.5% is 285 is what you can afford. I'm pretty sure you can't buy a lot in San Diego for 285,
No,
let
in fact,
alone
a
you
homeless
know.
shelter, depending on what corner you put it up in, would be more expensive, actually,
Yeah.
in rent.
So, I mean, San Diego is a ridiculously high-end market, and I'm, I, you know, I understand why he's giving up, but I will say this: don't give up. You're on the call. just stick with it. But I get it. I understand the disappointment because he's going. I'm sitting here thinking, how on earth am I renting a $1,600 a month 4-bedroom house in San Diego? Like, what's that place look like?
What's the neighborhood look like?
And honestly, if it's a decent house, you should stay there. And I'm a real estate agent who believes people should buy houses. But if you can live in San Diego in a decent place for $1,600 a month, you should stay there because and then you should go buy an investment property and rent that out. Because seriously, $1,600 a month, and that's probably in San Diego for the most part, maybe a 1-bedroom.
Yeah. And so here's what what my advice for this guy is: finish out the conversation, problem solve with the guy. Hey, what's the most you can afford? Do you need 4 bedrooms? What neighborhoods do you need to be in? Like, problem solve it on this call if you can, to figure out whether this guy is a legit lead or is not a legit lead. But don't kick the can down the road for another conversation that isn't going to benefit either of you.
I completely agree. So, and here's the thing. Maybe we help this guy and maybe he has somebody who, he can refer to us. Maybe that's something that happens. If you're going to prejudge people, you're going to miss some people. So, and again, I've been there, my number wasn't 1,800, but when I was selling actively, someone goes, yeah, I'm looking for $600 a month. I'm like, all right, I just wasted my time. But
right,
they got to live someplace. So they're either going to rent something or they're going to buy something. And, who knows? Just work them all. And that's how you didn't miss any.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your call, Brian? What do you got for us today? What do we get? What's the magic we're going to hear here today?
Some interesting stuff in the middle, and Dale, what I'd like you to go over, because I think this is something that we can talk about a lot, is the scripts and the step process. And I know we've probably gone over it 10 times, but do you have an agent conversation in the middle of this? And so I think we want to go over that again. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play that. There's some other opportunities here as well, but that's the one that really just kind of stuck out to me. So I fast forwarded for the first minute or 12 seconds. So past the person's name. So anyway, here we go.
Can I help you?
Yes, ma'am. My wife and I were wanting to see if we could get to look at a house in Bella Vista.
Okay. What is the address?
What's it, 11? I think it's 11.
Penny?
I don't know how you pronounce Penny or what? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I will say this agent could have avoided the majority of this conversation by doing a better intro script. Hey, this is Brian with Curtis Realty Group. Zillow connected us. They said you were interested in 11 Panine. I was just wondering if you'd like to make an appointment to see that this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have saved this whole kind of goofy thing that's going on.
What I'm thinking? I'm sorry. What I'm thinking, Brian, is what does your Arkansas team think of you, the Yankee, with no accent, when you try to coach them on what they should say? Are they like, yeah, right, he don't really know how it works around here?
So for the record, this buyer's not from Arkansas.
Okay. Where is this?
Mississippi or Louisiana. He says it during the conversation. So,
all right. Okay.
Yeah, Arkansas. I will say, full disclosure, people from Arkansas do have an accent, but it's not quite this thick.
Not that one. Okay.
Yeah. So, but you're right. I had to learn to say things like y'all and fixin'. So.
Oh man, that's gotta hurt when you have to do it, when you have to fake it.
Rapport, man. That's what it's all about.
Right. You're like, this. Okay. This hurts my soul, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, I fought fixing for years and years and years, and one day I was like, screw it, I'm just trying to make money. Like my coach said this the other day. He's like, I can be weird or I can be wealthy, and I'm like, I'm with you. I can be cool or I can be wealthy, and I'm like, I don't need to be cool. No one gives a rip anyway, so I'd rather just be wealthy. I'll say the goofy things, do the things that make me money.
There you go.
All right, here we go.
Yes. Are you wanting to see it today?
If possible. We're from Louisiana. We're trying to move here, and we were looking at homes. So we go back tomorrow, so we was hoping to be able to see it today if possible.
Yeah, we definitely want to get you in. Are you working with another agent?
Here it comes.
Honestly, I did have one show me one, but I know he's not available for the rest of the day.
Okay. Will you be using him?
Honestly, not sure.
Okay.
Pull Pause.
Let me see
Wait 1
if
second
we
because
can get you
okay,
in.
no, it gets worse. But so
Okay.
let's talk about what should have happened there because that wasn't the right script.
Yeah, you know what? Generally, we paraphrase. So he said what did he say? We saw a property with another agent.
But he's not available this afternoon.
Okay. And so we would paraphrase, oh, you saw a property already with another agent? And we would just
Yes, I
wait.
did.
I would swing up on the end. Yes, okay, got it. Are you committed to that agent?
No, they weren't even available this afternoon.
Got it. Okay. So honestly, I would let it go because you said no, and I would just keep moving on and I would book this appointment. And then what I'd probably do is I would close it up at the end and I'd say, hey, I understand you saw a property with that other agent. Unfortunately, he's not available. I am available. I'm willing to come out, show this property to you. And if we hit it off, if it looks like I can help you achieve your goals, I'd like to be the agent that represents you. Would that be okay with you? So basically, I'm going to close them at the end of it.
I agree, and because here's one of the things, and we'll listen to what happens here. Well, let's listen to it, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
But if you're using another agent, you'll have to call him because he'll probably have some kind of showing assistant.
No. Oh, Jesus and baby Jesus.
Okay, so listen to what he says, and this is going to reinforce your point.
I mean, we haven't signed anything.
Okay. Let me get here on showing time.
Okay, hold on.
Knows if you're working with him. Okay. Have you signed anything with him?
Hold on. It's not going back far enough.
Showing assistant.
Listen to what he says.
Have a what?
Have a showing assistant, possibly. I hate to step on anyone's toes if you're working with him. Have you signed anything with him?
No, ma'am.
So here was my point, and this is why I wanted to play some more. First of all,
oh my God,
a showing assistant is not a thing. That is an internal thing that my team has. Maybe Dale's work with people. Nobody who's not a real estate agent knows what a showing assistant is.
And they never should.
Right. Because again, if I'm working with Dale and I'm not available, I'm saying, hey, I got one of my partners. Not one of my showing partners, not some agent who's below me, not someone who's not as good as me, not some inexperienced agent. One of my partners, an equal. Because I want them to go, oh, well, Brian's not available, but at least I'm getting someone who's just as good as him. And Brian, if your ego won't allow that, then get out of the way.
Oh, no kidding. I think that she was just trying to be overly helpful.
Me too.
For some reason, to our competitor. Hey, man, listen. If he left his goods hanging out in the window like this, then we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to take this piece of business if they haven't signed and he's not committed. Brian, would you be willing to send me that call for our training library because that is a masterpiece of a dumpster fire train wreck, that little thing that just happened right there, and I would love for nobody to ever do that again.
Absolutely, and here's the thing, and this is probably the irony of this. This agent's a great agent, so. But what she's doing is what happens with a lot of great agents. So here's what I want to say about this agent. And by the way, like I think she closed 5 deals last month. So this is not somebody she doesn't know what the hell they're doing. But mostly what she's doing is, and I'll say this for all of you who are like, oh, this market's too hard. Mostly she's just really, really aggressive. She follows up. She makes her phone calls. She does those things. And who knew that worked, right? So clearly, here's the best part, though. She clearly has some opportunities to improve. Okay. And I think that's the important part of this is like all the people who are struggling with the market right now, I hate to say that, but just plow forward, do the next right thing, and you'll have some success. And then get some training for someone like Dale who will teach you how to do that. Because ultimately, so my conversion rate, Dale's conversion rate would be slightly higher than this person's currently because of the way she carries that. But again, closed 5 transactions last month. I don't know a lot of agents who closed 5 transactions last month as an individual agent.
Right. So, yeah. Do you, is this one of your clients or is this on your team?
She's an agent on my team.
Agent on your team. So maybe what she might have been doing, because I know the really aggressive high sale, the ones that are really good at sales, they have a tendency to disqualify a lot. So it could have been one of those, hey, don't waste my time. They probably have somebody over there to help you because you're probably going to run back to them anyway, kind of thing. And then she was like, oh, well, let me see if I can get this. Have you signed anything with them, right? Oh, no. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to move forward. So it might have been one of those disqualifying positions that she was taking in the moment. Do you think that could be it?
Very possibly, because again, someone, and this is something that's interesting that happens. So this comes back to something I heard my coach say the other day. The one thing that allows you to have unbelievable flexibility in your business is lead generation.
Oh, yeah.
So, because if I have an unlimited, no one has an unlimited, but if I have an unlimited number of leads, I don't have to mess with people who are on the fence. I'll just go get one of those people who are doing great. And to your point, I think there's some of that going on. She's got a lot of leads coming in, and she's got a lot of people, active buyers that she's working with. She wants to make sure she's not going to go spend 3 hours with somebody and it's a colossal waste of your time. Now, there is a point. I don't know where that tipping point is. I never reached it. I always wanted more. But I will say this to people, don't disqualify somebody, and also give yourself credit in person. So I think that's one of the things she's not doing. She's not giving herself enough credit that she can go and convince this guy to work with her. And maybe she's just like, look, and she said this, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I will say this. This guy's in town from Louisiana, which I don't know if he drove or he flew, but if he drove, it's probably a 12-hour drive. The other agent was too busy, didn't bother to set him up with anybody else. Stealing this client is not stealing. Yeah. This person deserves to not be sitting there going, well, I really wish I could see another house. I got to leave tomorrow, but my agent is too busy. And again, that doesn't mean as an agent you can't get too busy, but have a backup plan for an out-of-town buyer, for crying out loud.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's something that this is like such low-hanging fruit. You can go ahead and grab it. And I think that she was disqualifying. And honestly, in all fairness, earlier in my career, I did a lot of that. I was like, I'm not going to waste my time with you. Are you going to buy from me? Are you going to list with me? That kind of stuff. And, now having the wisdom, it's like, no, dude, you need to be face-to-face with 4 to 5 to 6 people every single week, and you better get out there and get face-to-face with them. If they can fog a mirror and they sound like they can execute, right? Maybe they got a little bit of hair on them. You need to get out there and meet them and see if you can dust the hair off and make a deal out of it.
Amen. And, no one ever failed for showing too many houses.
No.
I mean, with 2 different clients. I guess somebody could show 100 houses to 1 people, but nobody. Let me rephrase that. Nobody failed in real estate because they met too many clients in person. That's never happened. Never happened.
In fact, some people that do really well who meet a whole lot of people. You just need to be able. You have to cut them off quickly, right? You meet them, you determine whether they can execute and whether they will execute. And if they're time wasters or they're not serious or they're not motivated, then you don't spend more time with them. But by meeting with a lot of people, you find those who may initially not present as somebody who's going to do something. So one time I have several stories of where I nearly talked myself out of a piece of business that ended up closing, right? I nearly disqualified a piece of business over the phone that ended up closing with me. So, that's to your point, right? You can't err on the side of meeting too many new people.
My best client of all time, I almost didn't meet. They wanted to see a $30,000 foreclosure. And 3 or 4 other agents had blown them off. And this is not an exaggeration. I did somewhere in the range of $12 to $15 million with these people over about a 4-year period. I literally sold every single one of their kids a house. I sold them 6 houses. They were an investor. I sold 3 houses for them. They got divorced and I got to sell all the investment property. I mean, it was the best client I've ever had. Started out with a $30,000 house, and a whole bunch of other agents said, well, this isn't worth my time.
Right.
And, here's the thing. There is no bad client. There really isn't. And there's just inflexible leaders is what I like to say. And, you got to go out there and figure out how to lead these people. And some people are unleadable. Hey, I lost my job 6 months ago and don't have a new one. Okay, well, maybe we talk again in another 6 months. But, we pre-qualify way too hard, in my opinion, before.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are at time. Brian Curtis, Dale Archdekin. I hope that we have blown your wigs back. We have expanded your minds, and you'll have better conversations with the next people you talk to.
All right, I'm going to say one thing before we go. We will have a special guest next week that you're going to want to tune in for. A guy named Alex Underwood. Most of my guesses, most of you have not met him before. He's not a primary real estate guy, but he's using his coaching and training to jump into the real estate space, and I think it's going to be an amazing conversation. So I hope everybody joins us next week.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.